Yo, yo.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What's up, guys?
Not too much. We see him live in action.
Good morning.
Action
We're live.
Jackson.
We're live on YouTube.
Oh, we're live on
What's up?
YouTube. Very
Nice.
cool.
Jimmy, Jimmy, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey,
Morning.
man, good morning. All right. Grant's on.
What's up,
What's
guys?
up?
What's up?
What's going on?
Man, you look so smart.
I know these are my blue light glasses. If I'm having like a heavy computer day, I try to keep them on.
Dude, I got some of those.
That's
Heck yeah, man.
Hey. Mentioned I should get some the other day. Maybe you look into it.
They help a ton.
That's awesome. Heck yeah. Jeff, Jabin, what's up, guys?
What's up?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Jeff, it's good to see you. And Jeff, the Jeffs are here.
Woo!
Jeffs are in the house. All right. Let's see here. Per usual fashion, we'll give it a few minutes, let everyone funnel in. All right, quick question. Iced or hot coffee for everybody this morning?
Iced all day.
Hot in the morning, ice in the afternoon.
That's alpha right there. That's right. How about
It's
you,
coffee
Clifford?
game is iced all day unless it's like 20 degrees.
There you go. That's true. Yeah, it's gotta be hot for that.
Did I run at a high temperature? I need the ice. For sure. All right, cool. Let's get started. So this is CRE Experts call. It's our first stream on YouTube. And obviously we're here to talk real estate. It's not always all about commercial real estate. It's about real estate in general, the market, life, I mean, we talk about all types of stuff. We talk about interest rates. We talk about deals, off-market deals, different ways to make money in this industry, buying assets ourselves, owning assets ourselves, refinancing, 1031s. I mean, strategies, prospecting, you name it. So this is the first YouTube live. So, I mean, it's, open forum for everyone on this call. Eventually, maybe if we get big enough, we'll have it where we have speakers and such. But right now, we do this a couple of times a week, sometimes 3 times a week. We get on these Zoom calls and we just keep each other accountable. We talk deals, and we collaborate and help each other. A lot of people ask me, how do we find so many off-market deals, and how do we close so many deals? And I tell them it's this group right here. Typically there's anywhere between 6 and 20 of us that get on this call every week, and we're sharing tips and tricks and challenges, and we're pushing each other. So here we are. It's good stuff. So yeah, this is the Q&A call. Does anyone have a question or a comment they want to talk about or mention, and then someone on the call can answer?
Yeah, I have a question. I just came across a pretty big development deal. Langtree, there's like a phase 4 of development that they're looking to do, and I'm meeting with the guy today. But I just don't know the first thing about how to get paid as a broker on a big development deal. I'm sure it's all case by case, but do you have any guidance on that, on how we set up a fee structure on a development deal, not just the land acquisition, but the actual development, entire thing itself?
Yeah. So if anyone else has experience in that, jump in. But I'll tell you, the biggest way I've been paid on a development deal is obviously commission, right? Whenever the land sells, but also there's land leases, and there's out parcels, and then there's development in the sense that there may be buildings that are built that you get lease commission on if you're the leasing agent. So there's lots of different ways and lots of different structures. But number one, we'll talk about commission. Typically, I see in deals that are 5 million and up, you're going to get less than 3% if you're on the buy side or sell side. And the bigger the deal gets, you're going to get a smaller commission. That's something that really surprised me when I started getting into bigger deals is, once you get into 20, 30 million, you're not getting 2 or 3%. You're lucky to get 1%. And once you get over 30, 40 million, you're usually getting a percentage of 1%, or a point, or a percentage of a point. So anyway, you get paid on the commission for selling the property, get paid on any ground leases for development, or, out parcels like a Chick-fil-A or, something like that. You get paid on leasing the property after development's been done, the existing structures. On the development itself, we have been paid a fee for finding a developer, not just a buyer, but there could be a buyer for the land, and then also help find a developer to come in and develop the land, and getting a fee for finding the correct developer for the property. We've been paid that way too.
Mine's a little backwards. So I know the developer. They're just looking for equity, right? And I have buyers that would come in and bring the money. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how I should, before I get too far into it and then have to be begging for my commission on the back end. I'd like to know what I'm, at least what I'm angling for up front, so I don't have to be in a vulnerable position later.
Yeah, definitely try to keep it, all commission, be it that you're a broker, try to negotiate that, even if you're bringing $20 million of equity, let's just say, and you want to get paid a point on that, that's 200,000. Try to make sure that it is in the form of commission, just because we're licensed real estate agents. And also talk to your commercial real estate attorney about how to structure these deals in a way that won't affect your real estate license. But typically I try to get commission, and then there are ways to get paid not being a broker, as long as all parties are aware of what's going on. So if the seller will pay you 1% to bring a developer in for 20 million, and everyone knows about it, and it's crystal clear and it's ran through a different LLC and it's all in writing, no problem. But where people get in problems with the real estate license is, they're like, oh yeah, I get paid a commission over here. And then outside of closing, they're going to get 200 grand and no one knew about it. And that's where people like us, where we have our license, get caught with our speeding. So as long as all parties are aware of what's going on and it's paid outside of closing, even, it's fine. But everyone has to be aware and has to be in writing.
Got it. Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Try to get paid as many ways as you can.
Yeah, buy side, sell side. Yeah, it might be 100 million or more. So I'm going in kind of blind,
Yes. So definitely, but also, our license is what helps us obviously get paid. And it's important to keep it right because numerous reasons, but number one, income driver for me is being a broker owner. So if I'm, I can be an owner of a firm, but if I don't have a license, it's really hard for me to participate in deals and get paid commission. Right. And so, being a broker owner, need to keep that license as safe as we can. And everyone being on board is the key. But great question. Good luck. Langtree is awesome. I hope you close it, man. If we can help in any way or I can, let me know.
Sounds great, man. Thank you.
Yeah. What other questions, comments do people have? And I don't have to, someone else on the call can answer and et cetera, but someone throw something out there.
Yeah, do we want to talk about prospecting maybe? Like how we are able to procure off-market deals, or I'm just trying to think of things, that people watching may want to hear about.
I was actually going to ask a question about that. What would you guys
Go
say
ahead.
the biggest objection you face when prospecting and that you have to overcome?
I can come in. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Zach.
Okay. So, all right. So one of the main ones, especially for sell by owners or off market people, is that, how you're getting paid. And like, if the seller or the for sell by owner is going to pay you, the biggest objection, if you want to call it that, is that they're like, well, yeah, bring me a buyer and I'll pay you. And it's just hard to explain to them that if you go on the market, full market velocity of many different buyers is going to get you a much better offer than one Joe Schmo down the street who just happened to maybe find your building, or one buyer that I might bring. They know they're the only buyer, so they're going to take advantage of that. So a lot of times just helping them understand and persuading them into understanding that the full market velocity is so much more powerful and is going to get you so much more competitive offers, that going on the market is literally the best thing you can do if you want to get highest and best price. But there's for sell by, I'd consider myself pretty experienced at that objection. But even to this day, I've had sellers talking to me and still telling me 2 years, still, yep, just bring me a buyer, I'll pay you. Just bring him to me. But I've just learned really like that. I've nailed myself in to telling people, yeah, I might have some buyers. And that's actually hurt me, I think, more than it's helped me sometimes. I say, well, yes, we have a pool of buyers, but really what you want to do is get all of our folks, plus, everybody who's looking nationally, statewide, internationally. That's the folks who are really going to come in with the most money. So the best thing to do is put it on the market. And then, the next objection is that they don't want to lock it up for a long period of time with one agent. And the easy overcomer of that is, no, that's great. I understand. I completely get it. Just give us 90 days. Give us 90 days to show you what we can do. If you're not totally confident and comfortable that we're doing a great job getting your property out there to highly qualified buyers, then no harm, no foul. We shake hands and part ways. So yeah, just give us 30 days. Just let us show you what we can do. Don't tie your hands for a year, 2 years to a listing. We don't want the listing. We want to sell the building. We want you to get paid so we can get paid. So give us a short-term listing agreement. It doesn't have to be 6 months. It doesn't have to be 9 months. It doesn't have to be a year. Just give us 30 days, 90 days. And if you're not totally impressed with all the marketing and all the activity we're creating, then no harm, no foul. Just, give us a shot, at least on the short term. That's what I've kind of found, I guess, that's helped.
That's good info. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Another thing, Jeff, that I'm seeing is yeah, I'll sell, but where am I going to put my money? That's another really, really big one.
Huge.
Going to
And
1031.
unfortunately, there's not a great answer for it, other than helping them, find another property. But actually, we've been having a lot of activity with DSTs, Delaware Statutory Trusts, which is basically just, it's kind of a security, like a stock, where you can put money, typically at a lower percentage, 5-6%, something like that. But just an option for people. But that's something that I see a lot, especially in multifamily.
To park it for a little bit.
Yeah,
Yep.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but DSTs kind of allow you to not have to like designate to a single property, right? It kind of takes that whole time frame out of the 1031 and kind of gives
Exactly.
you diversified real estate.
Exactly. You're investing in like funds. There's multifamily funds. There's like oil and gas funds. There, you can do a little bit of everything.
And you can 1031 because it's real estate assets, correct?
Okay.
Exactly.
One day I love
Good info.
up that we don't talk about much is when you have someone who inherited land, farmland, or vacant land, and they're not real estate investors and they want to sell it, and all of a sudden they get $6 million, right? And their CPA is saying they're going to owe $3 million in taxes next year. This is a really good DST opportunity. So for any agent out there, residential, commercial, you sell a piece of land for a family that inherited it or bought it for 10 grand, in 1920 or whatever, DST is the perfect solution. Grant, thank you for bringing that up. But no one ever thinks about that. They just say, yeah, pay Uncle Sam, you get $3 million, good job. But DST will allow them to have passive cash flow and defer the taxes. And so that's where I've seen it really pays off with the DSTs. Hey,
Yeah.
Jeff, good question, man.
Yeah, I got one more little caveat, if you don't mind, to throw in there. One thing I've also heard is like we don't want to list the property. You'll hear that a lot and say my work around that is, and I know it's by the book, but it's kind of creative. What I've done is, okay, so you don't want to list it with one single agent, but you are willing to pay us if we bring you a buyer, right? So then what I'll do is I'll get a fee agreement signed with them, just a disclosure of non-listed property fee agreement. So I'll get that. And then on top of that, I'll do an addendum with like the right to market it. Right. So it's not like exclusively ours, but virtually might as well should be, because once we get that addendum signed, now we can market it, as if it's a full listing. We get all the benefits of a listing. We get all the buyer leads. We get the LoopNet, the Crexi, the CoStar, all that. And the client's comfortable because they don't feel like they're married to us to sell the building. So that's kind of been a workaround for people who didn't want to list. I would just say, okay, well, just sign the fee agreement and give us the right to market it. Worst case scenario, you get the best marketing virtually as if it were free, and you don't have to, be exclusively tied to us to sell the building. So that's kind of one workaround that I discovered that kind of worked for me a little bit in getting people to sign up and give us the right to market. Because once we get it on the market, then they realize, holy crap, that's what I need to been doing, the whole time. But that's just been one way I've had to, convince them of that.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's gold right there.
It took a while.
Gold.
Took a while, but we figured it out eventually.
No, that's the gold. As brokers, if we get ourselves out there, more exposure, more listings, I call it retail brokerage, where, our face is out there, our name, signage, platforms. It's over then. If you list, you last. Listings are gold. Does anyone want to talk about where they got a listing that they thought was a dog listing, but it led to them getting a buyer that was just off the charts? Does anyone have any stories like that?
One quick thing.
Yes.
We've got a question on YouTube. Whoever wants to elaborate, from Tyler, what are the advantages and disadvantages of a 1031 exchange?
Awesome question. I'll start and, someone tell me if, they want to jump in, but biggest advantage is deferring the taxes. And so don't think that the taxes disappear. Okay. that is probably one of the biggest deterrents of it, is that it doesn't disappear. It is just deferring the taxes. But one of the biggest advantages is deferring the taxes. So basically, if you do a 1031, the big advantage is not paying the taxes that year. Well, let's just say that you're in an environment where the government is having a high tax rate year or session or whatever. Well, then if you 1031 and then you wait to sell that property whenever there's a law or something in office where, you know, you get taxed less, then that's a better time to sell, right? So picking and choosing, you know, basically when to outright sell your property and then pay the taxes is a big deal. But the biggest advantage of a 1031, and this is a phrase that a lot of people use that invest in real estate for life, is called refi till you die. So when you do a 1031 exchange and you buy another property with that tax, you know, deferred money, and then, you know, a few months or years later, you go and you do a cash out refi, and the property gains value, you do a cash out refi. Eventually, you could get all of your cash out, or most of it, from refinances tax-free and still own the property. And then at a certain point, when it's right, when the right sales price comes along, or you've raised rents, or you've added value, whatever, appreciation, you sell it again, do another 1031, and then refinance again and again and again. And that is one way that 1031s are solid. Yes, sir.
Does that, when you refi, does that raise the tax basis up to the new appraisal price?
It absolutely can. Yes, it absolutely can. Of course, you know,
Taxable profit.
multifamily.
Go ahead.
Yes. In multifamily happens all the time.
Okay.
And so, so anyway, disadvantage, you only have 90 days to identify after you close on the property you're selling. Sorry, 45 days. And then you have 180 days to close. So 45 days to identify, 180 days to close, tight time frame, right? But then again, that's where you could, if you're against the clock, within a few days, you could do a DST like Grant suggested. But disadvantage is timing. Disadvantage is maybe, you know, you don't find the property you want to buy in 45 days, you know, and that's a problem, right? Let's see, disadvantage. You only get the name. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say DST. I think one of the disadvantages of that, though, is you got to keep your money in for like 5 years or something. It's like there's a time frame.
Yep. And so, yeah, that's advantage of DST for sure. And also, you know, not having control of the property that you basically own, you know, someone else is controlling it. But advantage of 1031, I think the biggest one is the deferment, the refinancing, the finding a way not to pay Uncle Sam for a long time, or maybe ever if you keep refinancing, or, you know, maybe you maybe 1031 into a legacy piece of real estate that you never plan on selling ever, and that you pass on down to someone, you know, your children or someone in your family. That's certainly a play that people do, and just never sell the property, you know, after that. But great question. I hope that answers it. We could get into a lot more conversation on 1031s, but, you know, for those who just joined us, 1031 is a tax-free exchange. It does not mean that the taxes are not owed. It means they're deferred when selling real estate. And something interesting, as long as you're not buying a primary residence, the government is pretty lenient about what is considered a property you can buy with a 1031. For example, vacant land is considered an investment in the eyes of the government. And so if you wanted to 1031 into vacant land, that is absolutely allowed. Frankly, I didn't. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. And I was just going to mention another thing that I've seen certain people do. Not going to name any names, but it kind of bordering that line of a vacation home, but you rent it out just a very small portion of the year. And I've seen successful 1031s into luxury secondary residences, vacation type homes that you just rent out like a little bit of the year. I don't know exactly how many days it is, but then it's kind of considered an investment property as well, and it's a way to kind of, but you can live in it most of the time. You know what I mean? And I've seen those successfully done as well, which is a pretty neat thing. If, you know, people that are ready to just get a home at the beach or the lake or in the mountains or something like that, they can 1031 into that as well.
100%. And you have to attempt to rent it out at least 10% of the year is what I was told from our 1031 experts. We use Banker Exchange. But from our 1031 expert, they said that if you attempt to rent it out at least 10% of the year, then you're good to go. So basically put on Airbnb 10% of the year, you know, and or more, and you're good to go. But yeah, I sold a building for Eford Appraisal, East Boulevard in Charlotte, and he 1031'd it into a beach condo that he ended up, you know, renting on Airbnb and such. And that 1031 exchange went really smooth. So a great point, Jabin. And that's why we do these calls. I mean, there's no way that the person speaking can think of everything. So thank you. Yeah, I hope that answers the questions on 1031, and I hope didn't beat it to death. Wes, are there any other questions or comments on the live? That'd be awesome if there is. If not, we can keep rolling.
Yeah. So we've got 2 more questions. Timon has asked if we could elaborate on DST and speak more on terms, and then pros and cons of DST. And then once we get that one, we've got one more for you.
Sweet. Timon, what's up, man? Glad you're on. Grant, do you I don't know if Grant's on or not right now, but can anyone elaborate more on terms? I have actually only done one DST, and honestly, I handed it off to the DST expert, which may be the best advice I can give you. But has anyone done one or explored enough to know terms?
I can't say that I have. I remember when they kind of gave us a crash course at Top Golf. And again, I like what you said. We're not an expert on that, but we just know it's a vehicle to 1031. And if you want to know more, you can always get in touch with a DST expert. I do know kind of on a high level, obviously I know Grant had mentioned, you know, as far as, you know, returns 5-6%, you know, a low stable rate. I do know that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that there's some benefits to coming out of them. So they're, number one, like you said, you don't have a time frame condition, but then also I do think you're able to sell it pretty easily, or potentially move into different ones. I don't really know if there's any restrictions on how long it needs to be in there. Grant, I don't know if you're on listening to that, but that was a thing for me that was pretty interesting. Is I don't believe there was a limited time period that you had to be in or out of a DST. And obviously you can select different types of real estate assets. So instead of, you know, if you had $3 million, and think about how hard it would be to diversify into, you know, industrial, retail, and office and multifamily, if you were taking that $3 million and trying to identify properties and close and all of that. I know something that's really interesting, and again, this isn't as much about terms, but something that I wanted to make note of is you can customize your portfolio and manage your risk a lot easier. So if you want to have exposure to different assets or different products in different markets, you can split it up a lot easier and drop X% into this product and this market, and et cetera, and really diversify your spread a lot easier and a lot quicker. I mean, you literally sit down. That's what they told me. They were like, you know, you sit down and they're like, what do you want to be in? Where do you want to be in at? Like, where do you want to hedge your dollars? What markets and what asset classes? And you just pick, you know, you just cherry pick what you want, and they put together a custom portfolio for you. That was something that, again, not as much about terms. I don't really know as much about the terms about it. I deferred to the experts. That's something that I would like to study up more on. So glad that question was asked.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you have to stick your money in for a period of time. I don't think it's liquid. I don't think you can go in and out. I think you have to commit to a term, but I could be wrong. But I
know it's a lot. I know it's shorter though than like that was something the guy had told me is it's very like there's different different packages that you like
Yeah,
for different time frames.
right. Holding periods. I got it.
Here's who you contact: Lewis Herford, W. Lewis Herford. He owns Exclusive Financial Resources, www.exclusivefinancialresources.com. His cell phone number is 704-451-8292. He's the one who came to Top Golf and did the presentation for us. And he's a good friend of mine. And so, Tim, sorry I don't know more. And I think Javen hit the nail on the head a lot. I've seen Grant's right with the cap rates being between like 5 and 6% or returns. But yeah, sorry I don't have more on that, but great question. And if anyone talks to Lewis and learns more, let's report back on our next live and chat about it. So thank you. Wes, you said we had another question?
Yep. So we've got one more question from AJ. He had asked, in the current market, which is more rewarding to be in? I know that AJ is actually currently getting his license. And he was curious to know, I guess, what challenges there are in commercial real estate versus residential. And I guess just kind of like the advantage of both commercial and residential. Yeah.
I got something for him.
All
yeah,
right.
look, yeah, mine's gonna be quick, and then I'll let Clifford grab it. But yeah, I mean, look, I've been in residential and commercial, and it's virtually the same amount of work. There's a lot more competition in residential, believe it or not, and in commercial, you do the same amount of work, just a lot more zeros. So I could not recommend commercial higher. Residential right now is a terrible place to be. You got 20 offers on every house. Everybody's fighting over clients, fighting over listings for $200,000 listings when we're shooting fish in a barrel on like $2 million listings, because just the opportunity is so great, at least in our market. But I would say it's probably nationwide. But yeah, man, just pick your poison. Where do you want to spend your time? Do you want to spend your time fighting 20 other agents on a $200,000 house, or do you want to spend your time fighting no other agents on a $2 million, $20 million deal? It's night and day different. And I've done both. Commercial is so much easier, I think. There's a lot less regulation and stuff. And I like that freedom it allows.
That's an awesome answer. Who else wants to chime in? I know everyone on here has an opinion about this. Let's go.
I mean, I'll speak to. I'll mention something that I've increasingly become more grateful for is, to Zach's point, fighting 20 people over a $200,000 house, or you can go and grab steak dinners with a bunch of people that are worth like $30 million, and you talk about net worth is your network. I love the fact that every week I'm literally just hanging out with millionaires all the time, and business owners, executives, people that are just out there making it happen in their sphere, in their field, in their industry. And you're getting exposed to all these different types of high performers across a variety of industries. And it just becomes your daily circle. And some of my really good clients have become friends and mentors to me. And we've birthed not only a transactional relationship, but a friendship relationship too out of that. And I think that you talk about compounding relationships like that over 3, 5, 10, 15 years. The amount of impact that can come from being around those people all the time is extremely valuable. And another thing is, this kind of led into your point that you were asking about earlier about a listing that turned into, like a small listing, it turned into something great. Most people buy a house, they may sell another house. They're going to hang out in that house for a little while before they want to probably move again. They might refer you to a couple people here and there, but again, everybody knows a residential agent. Really quick story. That's hopefully an encouragement. When I first got started, I had a very small listing. It was just an office building off of a secondary road here in Kannapolis. And ended up listing it. Was a net listing. Ended up was going to make a decent commission. It ended up dropping down to where this buyer came to me. We had signed an LOI and we are ready to go to contract. And he came to me and he was like, hey, I can only do this much. He reduced the price again. And I was like, man, I didn't represent it. I represented my client. I was actually in Bolivia at the time on a date when I literally got up from the table with my girlfriend at the time. And I'm like, I got to take this. And I'm like, dude, like I literally told him, I was like, man, I said, I'm literally barely going to make a commission on this. Like, you kidding me, man? I was kind of like giving him the runaround, like, dude, like kind of, man, you told me, you gave me your word, whatever. Anyways, he's like, sorry, that's what I can do. Well, I told him, I said, look, I said, I want to get this thing sold for my client. And I told him I'll do whatever it takes. I said, so, you know, we'll make it happen. Anyways, closed on the property, didn't make that much from it. From that point, and this wasn't that long ago, this was like about a year and 2 months ago. Since then, this one guy, and he was unrepresented, he just did his thing. This one guy has done 6 transactions with me and has referred me to other people who have also done several deals with. So in the span of about 13 months, this listing that I didn't make hardly anything on, but where I showed that I represent my client well, I've done about 9 transactions just from this one guy in a span of 13 months, which has been really encouraging. So I wanted to share that because you alluded to that earlier. Thought it was a really neat story.
Man, that's thinking big right there. That's thinking bigger picture. Like, we can't just think the next check. We got to think, you know, how are we going to be in this industry for 20 years? And that's how you solidified yourself, man. Good job. I love it. Who else has any comments about residential versus commercial? Grant, I know you were in residential before. Now you're in commercial. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of people think that commercial is harder than residential. But I actually think it's a lot easier. You know, whenever I did residential, and I did it for, you know, 2 years, maybe 3 years, something like that. But it's so hard to differentiate yourself. Like there's not a lot you can do to make yourself different than the other, you know, 150,000 brokers in North Carolina. You know, as far as lead generation, you know, I mean, you call a list of 100, you know, homeowners, and, you know, 80 of them are going to cuss you out and wonder how you got their information. You know, I was paying for leads on Zillow. I was doing, literally everything that I possibly thought I could, calling for sale by owners and everything. And it was just horrible. You know, I was, you know, meeting Zillow leads. Wes and I actually did them together. I mean, there were several times where we would show up, nobody would show. One time we talked to this, this lady was insane. And me and Wes thought we were getting ready to make some money. It was like a, I don't know, $700,000 house or something, lot of land. It was a family, an adult family. So it was a mom and dad and then an adult son. He had a good job. The dad, I think, owned his own trucking company. Like, you know, so we thought they were legit. Well, dude, we ended up staying there for like, literally like 2 hours.
2-3 hours. It was bad.
It was insane. The lady at one point pulled us aside and was like, "My husband's dying. Like, I hope he dies." Basically, I'm not gonna miss him. It was terrible. Anyways, like, you know, I only did it for a small amount of time, and there was so much crazy. Like, it was insane. So, like, in my opinion, commercial is much easier. It's, you know, it's way less emotional. You know, people don't call me, you know, at 2:00 on a Saturday saying, "Hey, come show me this," or I'm going to find somebody else that will, you know. So I think commercial is, you know, deals are more complex, but I think it's so much easier to differentiate yourself as a commercial real estate agent. I mean, you know, like Clifford says all the time, you know, if you answer your phone, you're better, especially in Charlotte, you know, you're better than 99% of the brokers out there. So in my opinion, you know, it's easier to differentiate yourself. it's easier to get deals done. Not hating on residential brokers, but they're, in my opinion, very much, my way or the highway. Don't try to get deals done. They don't collaborate. They don't work together. Us commercial agents, like, we work together, we collaborate, we try to get deals done. So in my opinion, those are the biggest differences. I wouldn't go back for anything.
Man, and I want to say this, obviously, a lot of us on this call are a little biased for obvious reasons, right? We've done well in commercial real estate brokerage. I'm going to tell you from my perspective, and it's a unique one, right? A partner and his wife and my wife and I own a residential firm called Blakemore Real Estate Group, Cornelius, just north of Charlotte. And so I have a little perspective that I've only sold one home in my career. It was one of my first deals to a college golf teammate. And since then, I've only done my own home deals, really a couple. And then I even hired Andrew, my partner, to sell our last home. So, I mean, a lot of respect there for what residential agents do. Me personally, owning a residential firm and owning a commercial firm, I can tell you that without any, fluff, that commercial deals take a lot longer to close potentially and a lot longer to get paid. And you potentially are going to get paid a lot less times in a year, potentially. And then also longer due diligence, longer contract periods. I mean, I've seen residential contracts under contract in 2 hours. I've seen commercial contracts take 2 months to negotiate. Once you get attorneys involved, the lender, okay, there's a 1031 that makes it more complex. Okay, so the pros and cons, residential can happen a lot faster. There are a lot more homes in commercial buildings, but guess what? There's a lot more competition too. In commercial, it can take a lot longer to get paid. It is more complex. Not saying that's harder, but it definitely has different designs and different things dealing with the properties. There's a lot of different asset classes, bigger numbers, so bigger, threats of being sued, and insurance. Insurance is a lot more important in commercial, I'd say, at a bigger number. But lots of pros and lots of cons of both. Me personally, I've been a commercial guy my whole career, and I love it. But also love and respect the residential agents for grinding nights and weekends during the week, grinding on, 30 showings, etc. Running around, being very hospitable, great people, caring about the emotions. I respect it, but it's not for me personally. But anyway, I hope that helps with the commercial versus residential. There's definitely pros and cons of both. And, I have great friends and partners in residential, great friends and partners in commercial, and they both love it. Right. So to each their own. But, me personally, I do love the complexity and design of a commercial deal. And even though the time is a killer, I do enjoy the time because you learn a lot. And every deal is extremely different. And in residential, every deal is too, right? But in commercial, I'm talking extremely different. Every deal is in commercial. It could be an office, it could be retail, it could be industrial, it could be vacant land, it could be multifamily, it could be specialty like a church, it could be a gym. It can be very different, and that's what keeps me energized is how different it is. And then, of course, selling homes is different too, right? Different price points, different markets, different buyers, sellers, features, construction types, et cetera. But for me, commercial, gets my blood pumping. And so I don't know if we have any other questions, but I want to talk about something real quick is asset classes in commercial. For me, I got to say that industrial gets my blood pumping. And I didn't grow up, in a lumber yard, or I didn't grow up going in warehouses for any reason at all. But for some reason, when I went and started working on my first warehouse deal, this was back in 2014, end of 2014, early 2015, about 6 months after I got my license. I don't know. There was just something about it. It's real weird and kind of nerdy, but I love the high clear heights. I love the power capacity. I love the dock high doors. I love the types of businesses that go in them: distribution, plumbers, HVAC techs, Amazons. I don't know, but for me, that gets my blood pumping. Does anyone else want to talk about an asset class they love? And if it's homes, talk about what type of homes, Victorian style or, modern. I just want to hear what everyone, likes about commercial real estate or real estate in general.
I'll mention something real quick. Or you want to go, Zach? You look like you're ready to roll. Two things. One, I did think about this while you're talking about price points for the residential. I know I mentioned when you have commercial clients, you're exposed to, a lot of high-level people. You can do the same thing in residential if you do luxury. If you're selling luxury homes, you're dealing with the same type of people. I just thought about that while we were talking. So I wanted to, it's not that you can only hang out with successful people if you're doing commercial. You can do that too in residential. You just have to, like Grant said, it's harder to distinguish yourself. But if you get to that luxury price point, then you're hanging out with the same people. One thing I wanted to mention, everything you said about industrial, I feel the same way. I think I just naturally got exposed to those deals and kind of like, like your first love type of thing. You just got something special there. So I love industrial too. But one thing I was going to mention is this is by far not the quickest, easiest, or smartest way in the beginning to get paid, but development, new development, working and finding land, off market with like a developer, putting the deal together, getting people on the same page, dealing with the city, municipalities, getting stuff rezoned, building, and then being able to lease and turn around and sell it. That is starting to really get me excited. Now, of course, we still have to close a lot of other deals to pay bills, but just the whole process of, I feel like it is the most complex form of real estate. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems like there's so many aspects to going from a piece of land or multiple pieces of land from different people, different ownership groups, putting it all together, getting everything on the same page, developing a product, leasing it out to tenants, and then turning around and selling it or refinancing. That to me is extremely exciting and fun. It takes a long time and it's definitely not the easiest way to get paid. But I think that I can see myself getting more into that. And I mean, I think that for us, we've got such an interesting opportunity to be able to do all of this with others and do it for clients, but then turn around and use it for ourselves too and become, I guarantee you, like almost every single person on this call at some point will start developing. Like I know Clifford, that's something you've talked about, Zach, you've talked about it, Grant, you've talked about it, I've talked about it. But like, that's the goal, in my opinion, is get to the point where you've done so many different types of deals, you work with so many different types of products, and you understand leasing. We had a call a couple months ago or a month ago, and Zach nailed it on the head. I mean, like leases, it's the lifeline, it's the blood of commercial real estate, right? And understanding how all that works is the fact that we get paid to do these deals with other people for other people is such a blessing. And then we can turn around and use that for ourselves. So new development and new construction is something that I get really excited about now.
Yeah, I like development too. I think long term, the biggest players are the guys who are developing it. I mean, that's definitely the biggest profit center. I mean, it's got the most risk, but it is exciting, and that's a part of real estate that's such an exciting thing, is to see a lot not even be cleared, and then the construction go up, and then just watching that whole process and being involved with that is massively interesting to me too. But I'm like you guys, man. I grew up in a machine shop like my dad, and just the smell of like oil and machines and trucks and everything it just gets my blood pumping, man. So when I found out there was industrial real estate, I was like, absolutely 100%, this is what I want to do. And man, I love industrial too. But I like retail too, because that I just naturally have done more of those deals. That's where some of my bigger clients like to play. So I do that too. But yeah, industrial's hot. But I think one thing too is, when you get started in commercial, a lot of people say specialized, but I'm kind of the opposite. I think Grant and I kind of agreed on that too. It's, kind of do everything in the beginning. You'll fall into what you're supposed to be doing. As I think Clifford and Jabin and I don't think any of us chose industrial real estate. I think industrial real estate kind of chose us, and development and land and everything. I think you find where you go. But I would say in the beginning, in commercial though, like leasing's probably the best segue into making money fast enough to keep it afloat, and then also learning the business, fast enough to help you do those bigger investment deals later on. But yeah, in the beginning, leasing is kind of, I would say, not everything in commercial is slow. Like leasing can be fast. You can do a lease in a week, 2 weeks. You don't have to wait for a closing. But yeah, a lot of times it does take a lot of attorneys and going back and forth to get the lease terms right, depending on how corporate the company is. But yeah, going into it, do a little bit of everything. But yeah, I think asset classes, do a little bit of it all. Figure out what you like. You might like office spaces. You might like retail. You might, who knows? You'll fall into what you like. But, you don't have to go out and choose in the beginning. I think, kind of do a little bit of all of it and figure it out, and that would be my take on it. Because I've been told specialize. And I'm like, well, shit, excuse my language. I don't know enough to specialize. I don't know what I like enough. Let me figure out what I like, and then you'll just naturally kind of do more of what you like to do.
I love it. Hey,
Thanks for that input, Zach. How would you categorize a gym? Is that considered industrial, or is that under a different category? So what would you consider, what asset class would you consider a gym?
I want to hear Clifford's answer on that one.
That's a good one. So I would call retail, but I have a phrase. I don't know if it's coined or not, but sorry if someone already uses this, but I call it redustrial. So retail and industrial. So of course you can see gyms next to a Harris Teeter, and that's great. That's retail all day, right? But a lot of times you see CrossFits in a industrial building, but it's a retail use. So I call it redustrial whenever it's a retail use industrial building. But truthfully, a gym at its core is typically a retail deal, but they also are found in industrial. That's a good question.
Thank you, guys. We've got another question. What is the best way to work with the city for changing zoning and so forth? What artifacts are useful to have prepared? And what has been y'all's personal experience with dealing with city planning?
A big bottle of wine and crackers. In some cases, a big briefcase of cash would be good. No, I'm just kidding. Someone else want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll just say, man, they're people. Some bigger cities are going to have bigger planning departments, but you just pick up the phone and call them, set up meetings. A lot of them will talk to you. The world's not as big as you think it is, if you just get into contact the right people. I've only had to do it once, and we had to kind of battle some of the townspeople actually to get something rezoned. They were absolutely against progress, and we were totally pro commercial progress, and we won. But I don't have a lot of experience with that. I've only done it like really one time, truly. But yeah, just pick up the phone, call the city planning department, find out who the city planner is, set whatever meetings you have to set up with the town to get whatever changed you want to get changed. And it's a process, and it's not usually always a quick process, but it is kind of fun getting involved sort of on a local political level. Like it does have that kind of element to it that I like. So, but yeah, it's a doozy. That's for sure.
Clifford was joking, but he's really not joking. That really is how a lot of things move forward. It's just who who likes you, and you could have all of the facts and the data and the plans and all of that spot on, or you could be the guy that is buddy with Shelly, and if you're buddy with Shelly, then Shirley doesn't really care what you have. And that there's a deal that I'm currently working on is exactly that same thing. It's all about who you know, and that's totally. Clifford's joking, but he's not joking.
Yeah, dude. And some towns don't want progress. You know, some of the people, the powers that are at B that play, they don't want to progress. They don't want commercial development. They want to hold things back. So yeah, I mean, it's really, that's where it gets pretty political. I've seen, but yeah, I mean, there's like some of the zoning law is just stupid, you know, and you got to fight, you know, your case. But yeah, that I agree with Jabin. You know, it's who you know. You know, and just getting everybody to kind of like you and just try to move the ball forward. But
So
like I said, some cities don't want to grow, dude. States go
no.
first.
Well, so practical advice though for people that are hadn't gotten to that sphere, literally go and I know that they're not on the call, but Robert Spivey and Chef can't remember his last name. Partel, that's right. Mr. Partel and Robert, like I know that they had went and met with, I believe, some planning department or some people from a local municipality down in I think Union County. And I mean, they were like, "Hey, we're commercial brokers. We really love this area. What's going on? Tell us about what's in the pipe. You know, what do you guys want to see?" Man, you talk about a great opener to start a relationship with somebody in the city. What do you want to see happen? Like, tell me what you would like to see, and then go out and execute on it and find investors to. I did that in a very, very, very small town here in Rowan County, where I mean, I literally just was like, "What do you want to see happen?" And then they told me, and then I was like, "Well, if you want that to happen, then you need to be open-minded to this, and this, right?" And it takes time to like get people like that to realize. But like Zach said, a lot of these places, it's just, you know, good old boys club, and they don't want growth, and it's only really a couple people that you need to navigate through to where some serious change and progress can take place. So I mean, I think that's worked out very well for, I know, Robert and Chef, where I mean they've started meeting and having coffee and stuff with these guys and on a local level, and they're in the know-how. You develop relationship, rapport, and then you're able to be a better. I mean, it's the bare minimum, regardless if anything comes from that experience and that energy, you know, invested into those people, you become more valuable to your client because you know what's going on in that market, and you're able to, you know, capitalize on that and speak intelligently and be in the know-how for your client's sake, regardless of what comes from the city side, you know. Cool background.
I love it. Thank you. I got a couple of things to add to that, which is just spot on. Working on a multifamily rezoning deal in north of near Lake Norman is what I'll say. And it took a dual approach. It took, you know, a guy who has done rezoning, been there, plays golf with, you know, decision maker, and it took a rezoning specific attorney to understand all the bylaws and the ordinances and the regulations. So you got the attorney over here basically drawing up the game plan for the guy that, you know, goes and plays golf with the guy who makes decisions. So he's prepared to say and talk about the right things on the golf course, and the attorney gets paid to basically divulge this information to him so that he gets exactly what he wants. And so this is still in a smaller town, right? But the one question I would have is, what about in Charlotte? You know, you may think, oh, that's such a big city, that doesn't happen, right? Well, no, it's exactly the same. I mean, there are certain council people, men and women in these certain areas. I think of South Tryon all the time, Still Creek. There's someone there that helps make decisions on, you know, the first kind of, you know, thumbs up if something's going to be rezoned or not. And, you know, people take that person to dinner, Topgolf, and they sit down in a comfortable environment, and they have their attorney in the wing telling them what zoning they need and the density and how it's going to potentially impact traffic, and get them prepared for the conversation to get them to understand that this could be better from a tax basis value, but the con may be traffic, you know. So even in big cities, small cities, doesn't matter, relationships and then understanding, you know, what they want and what the ordinances are. I mean, that's the secret sauce right there. And if you know, if you're the person who for years have made everyone upset in Charlotte, North Carolina with what you've done, good luck. You know, they're just going to get difficult as can be. But if you're someone who obviously has done said what they're going to do what they say they're going to do, and perform, and be encouraging and easy to work with, and sure, push back on things that they need to, but also concede on things that they don't need to. I mean, I'm telling you that that person will get something rezoned for years to come versus putting someone out there that's difficult. So there's politics involved, but also you got to know your stuff. You got to know how it's gonna affect the county or the city in many, many ways. And that attorney that you hire is a big deal.
Great book to help second that. If anyone, I'm sure everyone's heard of it, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie is a fantastic book. I mean, that would be like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's your handbook for, I would say, commercial real estate 101 on the people side. That's the handbook, in my opinion. That's the Bible.
I love it. All of a
I had a
sudden, Wes is
quick question. I just had a quick question. What kind of impact do you guys think we're going to see this year with the raising interest rates continue going up?
That's a good one. I have a comment for everything, so I'll make a quick one. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to affect cap rates. I think it's going to affect sales prices, but not in 2022. I think it's going to start affecting us in 2023 pretty heavy. At the end of the day, if even the best loans on earth, if they're at 4% interest and the cap rate is 4.5%, there's going to be issues with cash flow. So I am thinking that year 2023, that if the Fed can say one thing and then not do it, but if the Fed actually does raise interest rates numerous times over commercial loans and personal loans, I think that investment deals could slow down a hair. And I think that the prices could be affected. And then once again, I think that could cause a little more of a buyer's market potentially, right? Because sellers may find that their properties aren't worth as much because money isn't as cheap. But if money stays abundant, there's plenty of money in the market. It's going to stay pretty strong. It's not going to affect it that bad. But if for some reason our money gets funneled to other countries and other ways, other places that aren't liquid, then we could see definitely an issue with pricing and cap rates. I'm going to say that we'll have a little shakeup in 2023, but I'm not smart enough to know what's going to happen. I just know that there is definitely going to be some changes in the market.
Do you think that favors any certain sectors over time?
Yeah, I do. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that it favors the sectors that people buy a lot of deals with cash. So I look at Blackstone. I look at some of these larger institutional groups that have a lot of cash, and they like to buy multifamily and they like to buy industrial. They have smaller sectors, some retail sectors, et cetera, but mostly they're buying massive portfolio of single family homes, massive portfolios of multifamily projects, and massive portfolios of industrial. So the biggest mantra I leave all our brokers and our partners and teammates with is follow the money. So if you follow the money, we're all going to make money, and it will continue to do well. But if you see that money's not flowing in a certain direction or to a certain asset class, then that's going to be negatively impacted. I also look at states. So states that money and people are flowing to. I think it's obvious people see money flowing to Florida, Texas, Arizona, North Carolina, Tennessee, right? I think it's obvious that when you see money flowing to those states, that's another way to insulate ourselves from a downturn or from something negative. No matter what the asset class is, because if people are moving there, they're spending money and they're inflating the economy. And so anyway, that's my advice, is follow the money. And I think multifamily, single family, and industrial are looking pretty strong for many years. I think retail and office can do well as well. I don't know. I'm less confident in those asset classes than the other three, because I see the cash buyers literally buying with cash these massive deals in multifamily, single family portfolios in industrial. But I'm not a genius. I mean, I barely have a college degree. Really don't know how I got it. So maybe I'm not the one to ask, but that's my opinion.
I appreciate that.
I think in the
Yeah,
short term, it's definitely helping to keep things, moving. I've got a lot of guys that are just like, they keep telling me, we're running out of time, we're running out of time. That's what they keep telling me. So, I think in the short term, it's a good thing. And if we're smart, we'll capitalize on it, and we'll go balls to the walls, and we'll be trying to drum up every single deal we can and scrape to the bottom of the barrel. To where, when things do slow down potentially a little bit, we're able to hedge ourselves against that. So in the short term, I think it's helping, but obviously we're all long term minded. I would much rather it not be that way. But I think that it is keeping things moving along pretty nice right now.
At the end of the day, whoever's working hard, prospecting, following up, creating relationships, mailing letters, cold calling, emailing, following up, you're going to make money. There's no doubt in this industry, because it's 80-20 rule. 20% of us are doing it, 80% are not. So at the end of the day, I welcome any and every market, because I know that the people on this call are going to grind, hustle, follow up, network, prospect, dig it out of the dirt. I mean, that's why I'm not worried about anyone on this call, because that's how we are in our group. But yeah, it is nice to speculate a little bit. Wes, do we have any other questions? We're kind of running up on our time here, and I do real quick, I want to make an announcement. I think we are going to start doing this weekly, and I think we should do it set a time and stick to it if we can on Mondays at 10 o'clock. If anyone has objection to that, let me know. But, just know that some weeks, someone else may be leading this call. It's not always me, could be a lot of other people on this call. They're not on this call. But I think we should do it every Monday at 10. Comment if you would like to see that. And if you don't, tell us why. But yeah, let's take one more question. If we have one, Wes, if not, we'll call it a day.
Awesome. I think we are good to go. One of our guys that was on YouTube, AJ, he said he actually just passed his class test, so he's off to take the state. So just want to give a shout out to AJ on that. But I think we're good on questions for now.
Cool. Hey, good luck, AJ. Hey, good luck. Make sure contact someone on the Zoom call about commercial or residential or whatever anytime, and we're glad to chat about the industry and your options. So yeah, appreciate all of you being on this call. As always, we do this every week. It goes all over the place. It's all about real estate. Next week, have your questions ready, your comments, and I'm looking forward to it. And I hope you found some value in this. And thank you all for being on. Hey, listen, it's Monday. Let's go get it. The week is early. It's golden hours. People are answering their phone. People are returning emails. They won't start ignoring you until about Thursday afternoon or Friday. So go get it.
See you guys.
Sounds good.
See ya.
See you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one.
Bye.